Can the Baltimore Orioles keep their hitting coaches right now after the 2025 season? I know your very quick answer is no, obviously not. This year was a disaster offensively, but let's kind of go over everything and then make a decision. Now, last year, the Orioles started off insanely hot in 2024. You could even go back to 2023. They started to kind of get that rhythm going with some of these younger players. And then July, August happened last year, 2024. And we thought, you know what? That has to be an anomaly or something like that. These guys aren't that kind of a player. We saw what they could do in the beginning of 2024. Well, the Orioles decided to move on from their hitting coaches and hired Tommy Joseph from the Seattle Mariners. They decided to promote Cody Asche and then brought in another 2 or 3 hitting coaches. Mid-year, decided to bring in John Mabry. So I wanted to look at some stats and see if the right decision was made to move on last year. Obviously, things were bad last year, so there's no denying that a change was needed. But did they make the right change? Now, I've already just looked at fastballs this year and what this team has done since 2023 against the fastball. And you can see on this graph here, this is the worst average that they've ever had against fastballs, 252. The exit velocity, 91.2. Not that much different. Not that much different from the 2 years prior. Hard hit percentage, up just 0.3. 46.9% here. And barrel per plate appearance is just up 0.2% from their best ever. Well, since 2023. That tells me that not much changed. And, they hit not nearly as many home runs as they hit in 2024. They struck out more against the fastball. The only way you can even hit in the big leagues is to hit off the fastball. So you make this adjustment last year and bring in new hitting coaches or promotions or whatever, and then you get worse. How can they stay on this staff? Even if Tony Mansolino is retained as manager, which I know that's a whole nother sore subject in itself. But you got to upgrade these hitting coaches. And I'm not saying that they themselves are bad at their job. Obviously, the numbers may look like that. But I think it's more of a hitting philosophy that they have to teach that maybe they just can't get through to these younger players. Cody Asche, Tommy Joseph, they might be very good at their job. They might be able to dive in analytically and be able to dive into the video and really pinpoint something out for these guys. But if they're being told from above, hunt this for the fastball, swing first pitch, or try to get your launch angle up. And speaking of launch angle, it was no different than it was in 2024. So, to me, that tells you that, yeah, they are still trying to hit the home run. So is it more of a hitting philosophy issue with this organization, or is it a coaching issue? Because if you think about it, now it's been 6 different voices in the last 2 years that these guys have heard from. 3 this year, 3 last year. And the numbers are, depending on what you're looking at, are the same, if not worse. Are the players getting worse? Is the league figuring them out? Or is just the actual philosophy that the Orioles are preaching just not working for this group of players? And that happens in the game of baseball. 1 year, you could have a team where they all buy in and they all can do what you want to do philosophy-wise at the plate. And then you lose a couple guys, and then a couple guys change, and they mature a little bit, or they change, something in their stance. And all of a sudden, that philosophy just does not work. It does not work for the newer players, doesn't work for maybe free agents, and then it just doesn't work, period. And that might be a case here. Just might. Now, I'm not saying that this philosophy of trying to hit home runs and trying to drive the ball hard is wrong. You watch guys in the field. When you hit a ball hard, there's an opportunity there for them to make a misplay. Obviously, when you hit the ball hard and you hit it with backspin, it's going to carry a little farther. All of a sudden, them doubles may turn into home runs. That's extra RBIs and runs scored. Like, it's not a bad idea, right? A lot of teams are successful in the major leagues at the level this year at performing that kind of philosophy. But that's the difference, is their team can perform that philosophy. I don't feel like the Orioles, this team, this core of players, can produce with that kind of philosophy. When you look at all their careers, right? They drove the ball in the gap and they ran the bases hard. Look. Let's take Colton Cowser for instance here, and Adley Rutschman. We'll talk about both of them. Elite contact hitters in college and coming up through the minors. They start hitting the ball over the fence a little bit. Then they start changing a little bit. Now all of a sudden, they're out in front. Their swings are all jacked up. You can tell they're trying to swing for the fence. Colton Cowser hits a 450-foot home run. I don't care. I really don't care. I don't care if he hits 35, 40 home runs a year. I don't, because he's a good enough player, and he showed it for 5 years from college to the minors that he can spray the field. He can use the whole field. He can stay on a curveball and drive it the other way, drive runs in, use his legs and turn singles into doubles. That's the kind of player that he is. That he used to work counts a lot. Jackson Holliday used to work counts a lot. Now they get up there and they're free swinging. They're struggling. At times this whole lineup looks like they're in between. Like, all right, I need to be ready for a fastball. And then they see a fastball and they let it go. And then it's, okay, now a changeup's coming. And then another fastball comes right down the middle. They're not looking for it. So, again, I think the philosophy is worse than the coaching staff. But at this point, I don't see how you can bring them back looking at the numbers. And again, this is just off the fastball. So let's bring up off speed, right? Off speed includes changeups and whatnot. This team this year in 2025 hit 206 against breaking balls, or off speeds, I'm sorry. And just for context, off speed includes changeup, split finger, forkball, and screwball. So most of the time they're either seeing a splitty or a changeup, hitting 206. Their previous worst was 2023 when they hit 228. That's a big difference there. Strikeouts, they had 280 this year, striking at 29.3% of the time. Right? Previous worst, 24. So you struck out 5% more this season while seeing less of those pitches. They seen roughly 500 less off-speed pitches this year. 500. That's a significant amount. Hard hit percentage went down. Last year, it was around 39%. This year, 32. Barrel per plate appearance last year was 4.8. This year, 4.0. Again, went down. And exit velocity also went down a full mile an hour. They got worse. And then if the last one we bring in is the breaking ball, which includes curveballs and sliders, this team, again, got worse. They hit 213 in 2025. And their previous worst was 237. So they hit the fastball worse, they hit the off-speed worse, and they hit the breaking ball worse. Hard hit percentage down from last year. And then even on the launch angle was down across the board on all three of these. I don't know what kind of philosophy they were chasing. I don't know what they were teaching. It just didn't work. And there's no way, in my personal opinion, that you can bring these guys back, whether they're really good at their jobs or not. The numbers speak for themselves. Again, could it be a philosophy thing? I don't know. Probably is. And why I harp on the philosophy thing is it doesn't matter who you bring in. If you stay with the same philosophy, if you continue to bring in people that have to teach that philosophy, this isn't going to change. It's not going to change. They have to kind of really look in the mirror here and see, does this work for the group of guys that I have right now? Can we sustain this type of mentally thinking in the box? Or do I need to make a change? And the change has to come from Mike Elias. So if he wants to change, then your crop of coaches can change, right? Then you can bring in different guys. If it doesn't change, the crop of guys that you can bring in that can teach this kind of philosophy is pretty small. And when you miss, you get your result from 2024 to 2025 when everything goes down. There was a lot of injuries this year. I am not taking that away from them whatsoever. But when you look at the core guys, they all didn't produce like they could. They all didn't. But you guys let me know. Obviously, I'm pretty expecting to know your answer already. Should they get rid of these hitting coaches? And I know I would say 90% of my commenters are going to say yes. But I want to know, do you think that this could be a philosophy issue rather than a coaching issue? Let me know. I'll catch you guys later.